I'm dealt my very first hand, and it's ace-queen offsuit. To make things more interesting, the player on my left is straddled to 40. Before anyone has a chance to make a decision, there's $90 in the pot. That's 6 times more than a 5-10 game only 2 stairs away from us starts out with. My anxiety increases as the first player to act raises to 110. It's on me. I have a lot going on in my head right now. I know what I'm supposed to do, but this is the exact opposite way I was hoping to begin the session. I don't want to play a big pot out of position and get immediately stacked. I just have to pretend that this is a normal game and play my best. I reach for my stack, assemble some black and orange chips, then 3-bet to 380. Internally, I'm pleading with the poker gods to please just let me take this down pre-flop. I promise to never say jiggities again if you don't want me to. I'm shown no mercy. The hijack calls the 380. He's a very good player. Right off the bat, we're thrown into the wolves. The first hand I play has $830 in the middle pre-flop, and we're playing out of position. My heart is pounding through my chest. I'm completely regretting my decision to play this high stakes. Then the dealer puts out ace queen 9 rainbow. We flop top 2 pair in the most stressful start to any session that I've ever had. I can breathe again. Perhaps the poker gods don't have it out for me after all. I'm contemplating the best way to extract the maximum value. I down bet to 240. This is a flop that, as you can see, is going to crush my 3-bet range. My opponent knows that. I don't want to give him a free card, but I don't want to scare him off when he could be drawing close to dead. He's getting great odds. Apparently, they're not good enough. The hijack immediately folds. It would have been amazing to get more value there, but I can't even explain how important it was for my mindset to sit down and have a pot push our direction right away. A few minutes later, we're dealt 9-8 suited on the button. This one's 5-handed. The only rec player here opens to 80 from under the gun. He's the guy that I'm most focused on getting involved in hands with. I call a pretty standard sized open for this game. It's still more than the entire amount that I'd buy in for when I was playing 3-6 limit at casinos as an 18-year-old in college. The big blind also calls. We're going 3 ways to the flop. It's 10-7-6 rainbow. We flop the absolute nuts. I can't even remember the last time I flopped a straight. It seems like everything is aligned for us today. The big blind checks. I almost go into shock as the pre-flop raiser bets 300. It's difficult for me to even fathom that this is real life right now. This guy is betting more than the pot, and I have the best hand possible. Raising seems a bit ridiculous. Flatting will look incredibly strong as well. Typically, I don't slow play straights. Here it seems like by far the best option to set the trap. I call, the big blind folds, we're heads up. The turn is the 5 of clubs. It's safe, we still have the nuts, and pick up a flush draw that I've never wanted to hit less in my life. After overbetting previously, under the gun bets 400. It's less than half the size of the pot. I'm not going to let him off the hook that easily. No more slow playing. It's time to make a move. I raise to 1100. I can't tell you how good this feeling is at the moment. I'm still kind of in disbelief that I put 1100 out there and still have piles of chips behind. I'm hoping that the player will jam for 1700 on top. I've got him covered. He's very deep in the tank. Finally, he makes the call. There's over 3000 in the middle. The opponent has just over half a pot size bet left in the stack. This would be the perfect time for the deuce of hearts to come. Instead, the river is another 7, pairs the board. We no longer have the nuts. Under the gun checks. If he had 2 pair or better on the turn, he probably wouldn't have bet less than half the pot. Feels like he has an overpair, something like ace 10. I'm certainly not checking back. There's only one move to make.
I'm on. Owen.
You're all in, man.
Kings.
I'm shocked that he lays down pocket kings face up after getting almost 3-1 on a call. It's actually super impressive, and I give him some credit for letting it go, but he's not having it.
Nice fold.
Interesting that he doesn't believe that I had a strong hand, yet somehow he made the right play. A massive pot for a normal day in my life is pushed towards us. This is going infinitely better than I imagined. I'm also glad that we pick up pocket aces in the big blind. A good pro who I was in the 10-20 with earlier opens to 30 on the button. I make it 120. There's nothing like being at the very top of my range in a short-handed game when I should have tons of light 3-bets, and the opponent is good enough to know that. Everything that has a tint of red in this chart is what Upswing says that I should be 3-betting with in this situation. There's all kinds of suited connectors and even worse garbage hands like 6-5 and 5-4 offsuit that I can theoretically mix in. As a consequence of that, you'll see top players 4-bet from the button with a relatively wide range. That might be what's going on here. The opponent 4-bets to 290. Every time that I think to myself that this day can't get any better, the day says, hold my beer. The opponent has 1800. I want to get all of it. I announce a 5-bet of
750.
I didn't need to make it too large. The opponent is getting almost 2.5 to 1. If he calls, he'll have 2/3 of a pot size bet left in his stack, and he won't be able to fold on almost any flop when I jam. I'm hoping that he's thinking ahead, and he'll rip it in himself right now to save us all some time. That's what happens. He 6-bet shoves for piles. I call, we're about to play a $3,600 pot. I take a deep breath, just hoping it'll go our way. Then we both signify to run at once for all of it. There will be pain for one of us and glory for the other. The dealer puts out 6-5 deuce with 2 hearts. It's great that there are no high cards, but we don't have the ace of hearts. It's scary for that reason. The turn is the 4 of clubs. That's not great because even if we're ahead, the opponent will have chop outs. It's all going to come down to the river. It's not that often that I feel more alive than this. The last card is the 7 of hearts. The button shows that he has ace-king offsuit. We have him beat to win another massive pot tonight. This is one of the most exciting cash game sessions of my life. We get a final count just to make sure that I have him covered. I've got him by about 150. I'm literally shaking because I'm so excited that I'm running this well. The yellow chip comes our way. I love acquiring those. We've got 3750 in front of us and are up 2250 and 510 after already winning over 2000 and 1020. The best part is that it's not over. I've got ace-king offsuit in the big blind. The small blind raises to 35. His name is Mark. He's perhaps the best player at the table. He flush over flushed me and stacked me in a vlog that I uploaded a couple months ago. I put in a standard 3-bet to 120. There's another situation where I'll have lots of light 3-bets in my range. The small blind 4-bets to 335. He only has 1550 in his stack. He's certainly capable of 4-betting me with a variety of worse aces, especially when it's blind versus blind. I consider shoving on him. I have the last hand fresh in my mind in which the opponent got it in with ace-king offsuit after lots of re-raising pre-flop, and that obviously didn't work out well for him. I call to keep my opponent's bluffs in and see a flop in position. It comes king-jack-8, all spades. We flop top pair, but it's a very dangerous board. The small blind can have sets and flushes that we'll be drawing near dead against. We'll also be near dead if he has pocket aces with or without a spade in his hand. Even if he has queens with a spade, he'll be in decent shape. If he has ace-king with the ace of spades, he'll be free rolling against us. Small blind down bets at 200. It's small in relation to the size of the pot. Could be doing this with the nuts to keep me in, potentially something weak as a probe bet. Doing anything other than calling doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I call, not loving the situation all that much. I'm almost hoping for a spade to come out to make my life a lot easier. The turn is the 6 of diamonds. It's a complete blank. Surprisingly, small blind checks. I have a huge decision. My opponent essentially has a pot-sized bet left in his stack. If I believe I have him beat, I need to bet for equity denial in case he's holding a spade. Even if he's not holding a spade, I don't want to check, have a spade come out, then allow him an opportunity to bluff me. There's some small chance that he has the ace-high flush already and checked a trap. I have no idea how likely that is though. If he flopped a set, he might have bet larger on the flop and likely would have continued betting on the turn. With all things considered, he probably would have bet again if he had me beat. There's a strong possibility it could also be up against ace-king, and if I bet, it'll put him in a very difficult position. I can potentially get him off a chop. I close my eyes, then announce, I should find out immediately whether or not I'm beat. There's no snap call. Very, very good sign. He doesn't fold immediately either, so he must have a hand with some value. It's got to be a one-pair hand, likely with no spade like aces or ace-king. I'm feeling somewhat relieved. After 20 seconds go by, the player folds. I'm pumped up because I didn't want to see a river. That 1K chip comes back to us. The orange and black chips followed their more valuable leader. We're up all the dollars today. Mark and I have been friendly with each other, talking about previous hands we've played together. He asked me if we're going to compare notes on this one. I tell him I had ace-king, and he agrees to tell you guys what he had.
Mark flush over flushed me before, but I got him this time. What'd you have, Mark?
I had ace-king.
No spade?
No spade. You got me off the top.
All right. Thanks, dude.
Super cool of Mark to agree to go on camera and admit that he folded a chop. I know firsthand how difficult talking about that kind of thing can be. We're dealt queen 9 suited in the small blind. The cutoff, who we battled with earlier in the 10-9 offsuit hand and a few other ones, raises to 30. I should be 3-betting or folding. Instead, I call. We're heads up. The flop comes queen 7 deuce rainbow. We've got top pair. Not much of a kicker. I check. The cutoff down bets to 20. That's reasonable. I call. I'll likely check call the whole way. The turn is the 9 of spades. We've got top 2 pair. I likely won't be check calling anymore. I check, rooting for the opponent to bet. He fires for 50. This is getting good. I raised to 200. I did this with 10-9 offsuit in a similar situation against this guy. Here, I get to do it for value. The player calls. He may have an overpair, ace-queen, a flush draw, or a straight draw. The river is the 6 of spades. Not great. The backdoor flush draw gets there. So does 10-8. I check for pot control. Bet folding is probably the best route. The cutoff says, what the hell is pot control? Then bets 550. My hand is slightly under-repped. If I call and win, I'll be up about 6K on the session. If I call and lose, I'll be up closer to 4,500. This guy already got caught bluffing me for a pot-sized bet on the river before. I gather some chips and call. No bluff this time. The cutoff has a set of deuces, which is kind of sick because my hand is the next best one, and he got all the value from me. I wonder if he makes a similar bet if he had 9-7 for a worse two pair, or if he had pocket aces. I lose a big pot. That's what I get for calling with queen 9 suited out of the small blind. I play for quite a while longer, but don't get into any interesting hands before racking up and booking a huge win of 4,400 altogether on the day.